Masters magazine is one of the UK's leading cake decorating monthlies. It includes fabulous step-by-step cake tutorials, recipes, expert advice, competitions, interviews, design inspirations and so much more. You can order your 12-month subscription to Cake Masters magazine right here for just £35 and with free UK P&P. To order your 12-month subscription, either visit createandcraft.tv or call 09056 480 480 and quote the item number on your screen.
Hello there, a very good afternoon, welcome. It's our regular date on a Sunday at 5 o'clock. The doors fling open to the Cake Academy and it's great to have your company. This is only show 6 of the Cake Academy and as well, basically this is a whole show, a whole hour every week dedicated to the art of cake making and decorating. One of the most popular crafts globally, but certainly in the UK, literally hundreds of thousands of people set about cake decorating on a regular basis, and this show is dedicated to you. Now, if you've missed any of the shows before, I know we were very present at the Cake International show at Birmingham a couple of weeks ago, and I know thousands of you possibly found out about the Cake Academy there. If you want to look back at the previous shows that you may have missed, they're all available on our website, which is www.createandcraft.tv. We've got a Cake Academy section there, so you can watch back any of those shows in the past, month or so, just over, whenever you want to. But this hour, of course, is live right now on Create and Craft, so whatever you do, record it if you'd like to. You can series link it too. If you're a Sky viewer or if you're a Virgin viewer, you can actually series link so that every single show in the Cake Academy is recorded on your box for you. Now, during the show, we're joined each week by renowned guests from the world of cake decorating. The very first show we did a little while ago, 6 weeks ago, was with the lady who's with me again today. Rosie Cake-Diva is here. Hello, my dear.
Was it 6 weeks?
It was 6 weeks ago.
Mwah.
How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Mwah.
Now, for those of you watching that don't know about Rosie, you are pretty well known in the world of cake decorating. How many Facebook followers have you got?
Over 1 million.
Over 1 million. Wow. YouTube?
Nearly 100,000, I think.
Wow. Boy. So this lady has got an awful lot of you following her, and hopefully you're going to be joining us for the whole show today. Now, the whole point about the show is that you get hints, tips and techniques from experts like Rosie. And also, if you would like to order things along the way, things that maybe you'd like to purchase to help you with your cake decorating skills, what we do is we put what we call the L on the screen for everything that we're using during the show. So the L is just here, basically. What it will show is exactly what Rosie is using, also the price of the item. The item number is the most important thing, which is just there in that purple bar there. And you can either order on the phones if you're a brand new customer, 09056 480 480. Or you can also order, of course, on the website free of charge as well, which is www.createandcraft.tv. All of that information just along the bottom of the screen there. The all-important price is there as well. But, of course, we'll talk about the club members' price sometimes. That's if you're a member of the Create and Craft Club, which if you're not, you won't get that extra discount. But if you'd like to join the club, you can do. And you can do that right now. It's £20 to join for a whole year. You get a £10 credit, and then, of course, you get 10% off everything that you buy from us from Create and Craft for a whole year. There's the item number if you'd like to become a member. 148319. So from us at Create and Craft, from Rosie and from me, Dave Bradford, welcome to maybe your first Cake Academy or maybe it's your 6th. Either way, it's great to have your company. And today, the theme about what we're talking today and demonstrating is character cakes, isn't it, Rosie?
Yes, my favourite.
What does that bring to a cake?
Do you know, I think it's all about character cakes now. I think cakes have had a massive revival, and I think the character cake is to blame because people are realising that if you personalise a cake, it makes it special. And the one thing you cannot get at the supermarket is something that's specially made for somebody. So stick a little figure on the top or something that's personal to somebody, and suddenly, whether you're a hobbyist or whether you're doing it professionally, you've made the cake valuable.
Now, what we're going to put on the screen for you in a second is what we're going to be using to actually make these figures from. And it's the Renshaw sugar paste, which will pop on the screen for you now. What we've been featuring over the last, few weeks or so it's been very much mould-driven shows. What we're doing today, we are going to bring you some moulds as well, but we're going to show you how you can create characters from scratch without the need of a mould from Renshaw modelling paste, which is on the screen right now. And you get a pack of 4. in various different colours, and the item number's there if you'd like that, 355358. If you want the white, which of course is the largest quantity, we've got that available on the website as well. But this is what you use to make all of your characters.
Well,
yeah?
I like Renshaws because when you're covering cakes, it's actually really nice to cover cakes with. It's nice and soft, and sometimes people who may have had some bad batches of sugar paste will realise that you cover a cake and all of a sudden you've got cracks and what have you. That doesn't seem to happen with Renshaws. It's a nice brand, it's a lovely brand. But one of the things we keep trying to tell people, you've learnt over the 6 weeks, I've heard you I've been watching you,
have you?
You've learnt about the Tylo powder, haven't you?
Absolutely.
So what we're doing is we're taking that sugar paste and we're making it into something a little more usable for figures, because when you cover a cake, the stuff that we use to cover a cake with is not necessarily the right consistency to make models with.
You need the models to be a little bit stiffer?
You need a little bit more strength, so every cake decorator knows that you need a little bit of this. This is the Tylo powder, this is the Rainbow Dust Tylo powder. Every cake decorator has some, and you just add a little bit of the powder to the sugar paste and it gives it more strength, and that's what we're using today.
And it's a little bit of trial and error as to how much you use, doesn't it? It depends on the humidity in the room, the heat of the room.
Yeah, and
cold
that's
it is.
one thing we're trying to get across, is that there's no recipe for everybody. So it's important, because nowadays so much happens online, that if you read a recipe or hear somebody's advice from, say, a hot country, you may think, why is this not working for me? Why is it too stiff? In this country, I find some things are softer in the summer and colder in the winter.
Sure.
So you just have to balance it out to what works for you. And it's easy. Once you've done it, you'll realise this is a bit difficult to work with, or this is easy to work with.
Now, I haven't got 1.1 million followers on my Facebook page yet. I've got a few hundred. But this little character I posted on my Facebook page about half an hour ago, showing you that we were going to be making him today, but he's not from a mould, is he?
No, we're going to do a variety of stuff today. So one thing we want to do is to teach people that they can do stuff on their own if they want, or they can make it a little bit easier by using mould, or they could use a combination of the two. So we're going to do all sorts of varieties today.
OK. Now, without a mould, that looks pretty tricky and complicated. Is it quite simple to do?
No. We've picked one that's simple. And actually, they follow a little bit of a formula, and you'll see the formula as we go through.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, shall I start?
Yeah,
shall
absolutely.
We start? So what I've done, I've already unwrapped these because I have kept these under wraps, because I've put a little bit of Tylo powder in yesterday. It takes a little time to work, the Tylo powder, but this already feels a little bit more easy to use.
So would you suggest doing it the day before, ideally, like you've
No.
done?
Tylo powder doesn't need to be done that far in advance, but probably about half an hour in advance, and you'll feel the difference. You'll suddenly feel it becoming easier to handle. If you use gum tragacanth, which is the natural product, it's actually quite expensive, and that does take overnight to work. It takes a little longer to work, but I love this Tylo powder. I use it all the time. It's very straightforward.
So Renshaw sugar paste, Tylo powder is the way to go from your point of view?
That's it.
Okay.
Right, so they come in different colours. So this is one of the colours that's ready-made, so I didn't even have to mix it. So all I'm going to do is roll it into a ball. Now, this is the tester. If you can't roll that into a ball and have it nice and smooth, then there's something wrong with your sugar paste. It means it's too dry. So you just have to give it a little bit more. You won't need to with the Renshaw, but you need to give it maybe a little bit of glycerin or a little bit of Trex, and it'll soften up. So that's fine, and it's nice and soft. I'm making a ball, and then I'm going to make a little bit of a sausage, and then I'm going to taper that sausage by putting pressure on one side. That's it. That's all I've done.
All you have to do to get the shape of the body.
That's the body. Now, what I do when I teach is I actually break it up into grams so that people know the proportions of what people struggle with. So I've got here about 20 grams for the body and about 10 grams for the head. So half for the head. But obviously it depends on what you're doing, but it just helps people who are struggling with it.
If you haven't got a scale, though, just half the size for the head and double the size for the body. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself a support. Now, the thing about supports is that people sort of see cakes and think, oh, that looks great, but it is cake and it is icing and it does need a little bit of help. So what we tend to do is give ourselves, this is a dowel, just a normal barbecue skewer, and all I'm going to do is put that support through the body. Now, if this was going to be a big cake, if I was going to do you, because you're quite tall, I would have something that went through so that it could fix into the cake.
Right,
I'd make sure that was clean, obviously, but I'd give myself a little... So some of the figures that you see here, that's exactly what I've had to do.
So they're pierced into the cake itself?
Yeah, because this dog is nice and seated, I'm not going to give myself that trouble. So what I use all the time, I do have a set of pliers. I only use this for cakes, but I use it for doing dowels and things like that. I'm going to give myself enough space for the head.
If you haven't got a dowel like that, could you use like a toothpick, or is that too thin?
Yeah, you can use a toothpick. I do have toothpicks here, but they do tend to be a little bit thinner. So I kind of like to use... I just have a pack of these. They're not expensive. Now, the one thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it now, You don't need to. A lot of people would go straight through and do the dog from start to finish now. But what I've done is I've done some earlier. So if you see, I've got this one that I did yesterday, and it's just a little bit harder. So this one, if I start to put stuff on top of it, it's going to start squashing down, and I don't want that to happen. So what I did was I made one yesterday, and I just like giving myself time. It's not necessary all the time, but it really does help, because sometimes people will say they've tried and it's all squashed down and it's misshapen. I can handle that now, and it's not going to misshapen. That will. So that's all I do, is I give myself some time.
So is it always in the forward planning then? If you've got like a commission to do at the weekend, would you start thinking about the cake on a Wednesday?
I always try to do the figures in advance, and that's the brilliant thing about doing character cakes. You can make all of these figures well in advance. It's sugar, it's a preservative. So as long as you keep it nice and tight in it, what you do is you put it in a cake box. You don't put it in a Tupperware or anything like that. You put it in something that can breathe, but something that protects it. You can make all of these a month in advance if you want.
Oh, wow.
Come the day, come Christmas Day, when you want to get your cake out, you can pop them on the top, and you're not rushing and struggling to do all of this, because I like to take time making figures. I think a lot of people do. They like to sort of potter, and you don't want to be rushing at the last minute.
Now, just to let you know, if you're watching us on the TV and you'd like maybe to have on your tablet or your smartphone or your laptop nearby, you'd like to have the website up so you can see everything that's in the show, all pictured there, all priced for you as well, and of course the more you buy, the more you save on the postage. Maximum P&P, in case you're a new viewer to us, is £6.99 for 3 items or more. If it's the same item you're buying multiples of, you only pay 1 P&P of £2.99. But it's all there. Have maybe the TV on and your laptop by your side with the show details and all the products that Rosie's going to be using during the show, and you can add them into your basket if you want to on the website. That seems to be the easiest way of doing it. So.
Get them all.
Crateandcraft.tv. Oh, by the way, can I also just let you know, we are the only place in the UK that has the entire inventory for Wilton products. Wilton is supplied through various different retail stores up and down the country, but they only carry a small percentage of what Wilton actually produce. We have exclusivity here at Create and Craft for you to have the entire inventory of Wilton products available, and that's now and going forward. So if you're looking for Wilton goodies, that's the place to find it, the Cake Academy section at crateandcraft.tv.
Right, so from there, I've got a body. I think that was simple enough. I hope that was simple enough. I'm just going to take a little bit now to make the legs, and all I'm going to do with anything, and the reason I've started with the dog is because it's very simple, and the principles are the same for all the things that get more tricky. So what I'm going to do is, instead of making 2 legs, I'm going to make 1, and I'm going to split it down the middle, and that way we know we've got equal sized legs, so you won't have the confusion of trying to make 2 things that are different sizes. You'll make them the right size every time. There. So 2 legs, and all I'm going to do for my feet, for my dog's legs, is put a little bit of a paw there, and I'm going to use, this is from the tool set, everyone should have a tool set. I'm going to make 3 paws by 2 indents. 3 paws, what are they called? What do we call them?
Yeah, paw pads.
Paw pads, is that what they're called?
I think so.
So that's all I'm doing, is making my little paw pads.
Can I ask you a question, just so there's no confusion? What's the difference between Renshaw modelling paste and Renshaw ready-to-roll icing?
Right, well, modelling paste is the word we use for the thing that we use to make the models with, which means it's got more stiffness. Yep. Exactly. So you can make your own modelling paste. There's loads of different ways to make your own. There's loads of different recipes, but the easiest way is to add Tylo powder to normal sugar paste.
Okay.
That's the easiest way.
And the ready-to-roll icing, that's what goes over the actual cake itself?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Right, so what I'm going to do is use sugar glue. We've talked about sugar glue before. If anyone missed that, you can make your own sugar glue by adding Tylo powder to water.
Tylo's a hero product, isn't it?
Exactly, you're learning. That's why no cake decorators can understand why there's such a... It's sometimes very... I mean, obviously, you store it here at Create and Craft, but it's very difficult to get hold of it in normal shops.
Yeah.
Right, OK, so I'm doing this a little bit backwards, if you can see. I need to be able to see it. I'm just trying to get myself... Hold on. There we go. We're just having to fudge that a little bit to get those paws together. And then I'm just going to use another little bit of sugar paste, sorry, modelling paste. There we go. Into 2, and I'm just going to make 2 little back legs. And the only thing I'm going to do is roll them into a ball, then into a teardrop shape, and then I'm just going to press the thin end of the teardrop shape up. That's going to go under his bottom. And I'm just going to do the same thing with the paw pads there.
Now, these modelling tools, there are lots of them featured on the website, and they are, once you've got them, they're great investments, aren't they?
Well, I don't know how you could do it without them. I mean, look how simple it is. They're very cheap.
Yeah,
They're really cheap. They're not expensive to buy. But I do have my favourites. These are my favourites. So this one here I find very useful. I don't know what you call that. This one is the Dresden tool, which I find very useful. And the ball tool is also a very useful one to have. Those are my 3 favourites.
Well,
I use them all the time.
When we get to the end of the demo, what we'll do is we'll remind you with pictures of everything that Rosie's used in that demonstration, so there's no confusion as to what you need to get. So.
Right, what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of sugar glue there, and I'm going to make him sit on these back legs. So you can see all of a sudden we've got a little... Well, this could be anything. This could be all sorts of different shapes, but can make a giraffe. You can make all sorts of different animals in the same format. So this is a very simple thing. Kids can have a go at this. So I've now made my body, basics, and then I'm going to take my head. So like I said, I use 20 grams for the body.
Right.
I'm going to use 10 grams for the head. And all I'm going to do again is make a ball. And I'm going to use my ball tool this time.
I mean, if you're a little bit worried about getting it wrong or whatever, would you recommend people using plasticine to practice before they do the real thing?
Well, I don't see why they wouldn't practice with this.
Okay.
Why practice with...
Because it's not expensive,
Because if you get it wrong, you can start again, or you can eat it.
Good point.
I would prefer to practice with this than plasticine here. So here we go. I've got my ball for my head, and all I'm going to use is my ball tool to make 2 little indents for the eyes. So there you can see. What I did with this little fella actually is I gave him a little patch, because every little cute dog has a patch, doesn't they?
Yes,
so a little bit of white,
and
then I pressed it down. Hold on. Sticking a bit there. Need to use a little bit of... This is just corn flour mixed with icing sugar, and I use that to just keep it from sticking.
That reduces static as well, doesn't it?
Does it?
Does it?
Reduce static?
Doesn't it?
Sounds very, very technical, Dave.
That's what I was told.
I'm learning something. Yes, I use the corn flour in the moulds as well. So I'm just going to pop that into his eye. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is make his little snout, or whatever they call it. I'm making this one a hairy one. So again, just to show how you can use these tools very simply, what I'm going to do is make myself a little snout, and I'm going to use my Dresden tool to make his mouth. So that's his mouth there. You see, that's going to be his bottom lip. And then I'm going to use another bit of this brown to make his... What do you call the furry bits here?
It's like a moustache, isn't it? Whiskers?
Well, why didn't we look this up before we started? We needed to be doggy experts to do this one. Right, so here we go, again. And like I say, I mean, there's all sorts of different dogs, but this is just me describing how to make a very simple dog. There, you see that little bit there? You can see where we're going with this. And then I'm going to use this line tool to just give it a little bit of... You see here, all of a sudden, I've made that texture.
Just to give it,
That's all I needed to do. And then if I use the same tool to give him a little line there, they always have a line there, don't they? So that's very simple, and that's all we've done.
There he is.
In 2 minutes, and we're just going to attach that to our face. Do you want to pop it on? It might...
That way around?
Yeah, try not to smush it up too much. So you can do this all on there. So what I'm going to do now, fix it on, and then I'm going to use... Obviously, I would spend loads of time doing this because I really love doing models. I'm going to use a little bit of flour paste or gum paste. Now, the Renshaws do this, and I always have a little bit of black and white because when you start rolling little balls, it tends to keep it less dry. So if I was using normal sugar paste to do little tiny balls, it would dry out very quickly, and I'd suddenly not be able to do a nice circle. So I'm going to use a little ball. Look how small I'm going. In fact, I might even go smaller than that. I'm just going to use 2 little tiny dots. Wilton actually do a really nice range of sugar balls. Now, are we going to have the draggy dragé conversation? I watched you see, doing your French lessons.
Yeah, I thought they were called dragées.
I have no idea. They're sugar balls.
Dragées.
They're sugar balls. Dragées.
Dragées.
They're sugar balls, and they are really good. They're about 3 to 4 millimetres. People who do my class often ask me what the size is. They're about 3 to 4 millimetres.
Well, they are part of the Wilton collection that you'll find in the Wilton store on our website, createandcraft.tv.
Right, so you can always use those if you want to. Like I say, people need to have the confidence to try their own way. So I've just got 2 little eyes there, and just to make him a little bit cute, OK, what I'm going to do is just use my ball tool to lift up his... You see how that automatically opens his eye up? a little bit of a lift and he starts to look a little bit cuter. And then obviously we need a nose. So I'm going to pop a little nose on and I'm going to use a little bit of sugar glue on there. And
So I suppose eyes more closed would be sleepy, a bit dopey. Eyes more open, more alert, more happy.
and you know, a really good way to do it is to go online and to have a look at cartoons, because they often simplify features, which is really helpful.
Good point.
Now, what I normally would do, I'll be really honest with you, I would wait a little while because this is still very soft. Where's my little dressing tool here? I'm just going to open his mouth up a bit. I'd wait because now he's really soft, and if he goes hard, I don't want to change that at all. So if he goes a little bit harder, I can handle him without messing him up. But I'll do it for the sake of watching what we're going to do now. I'm just going to pop him on. Are we starting to see a doggy there?
We are definitely starting to see a doggy
so we're starting to see our little pooch, and I'm just going to do a couple of little ears. And what I would then do is I would get a little bit of pink. And in order to make it a little less pink, I'd add a little bit of black or white just to make it a little dull and give him a little tongue, as we've done up there.
Okay.
See that?
So a little black to pink sugar paste makes it go duller.
I just don't like it when it's too bright and it looks a little bit too vivid. Right, so for his ears, I'm just going to take, I'll show you how I just did that. I took a little ball, let me clear this area so you can see. I took a little ball, I made our teardrop. This is all about balls, teardrops, sausages. That's pretty much everything you need to know.
Put it all together and then you've got your doggy.
There we go. So what I've done is I've made my teardrop into an extended teardrop, and I've got two little ears. What I did for this particular one is I took some of that pink colour and I made similar little shapes that I then made into smaller teardrops, like that. I don't know, that's not a teardrop, that's like a, what is that? I don't even know if there's a name for it. Whatever that is, all I then did was...
a cigar shape?
Yes, maybe. I pressed down to make my ear shape, and then I just inlaid a little bit, just for the inside of his ear. You see that? You see the gist there?
Yeah.
So then, using my sugar glue again, I'm just going to add those to his head, and you can see now why I quite like him to be a little bit harder, because then I'm not going to mess him up when I do this sort of thing there.
Do you reckon he's a pedigree, or is he a bit of a mix?
He's a mongrel.
He's a mongrel.
I've made him up completely, but then
sometimes
there's nothing wrong with making it all up. And I do think it's nicer when you've got a... You see, if this was just plain sugar paste, you wouldn't be able to make him stand up at all. His ears would not be able to stand up. But because it's just a little bit stiffer, you can model it a little bit better. There we go. You can do whatever you like there. So... There we go.
He's gorgeous.
Right, so then we'd put our little mouth on. We'd obviously put a tail. Do I need to show you how to do a tail? I think we can all work out how to do a tail.
Yeah.
Shall we go with the ball, the sausage, the teardrop?
What, for the tail?
And then we've got a tail.
There you go.
There we go. There's his tail. And of course, the last thing I did was take some white and I put little patches. So I think we've then... live on air, made a little figure. Obviously, I would sit... I'm doing this facing camera. I can't see what he looks like, but he looks cute enough.
He's looking good.
He looks cute enough. So there we go.
He's engrossed watching you, I think. He's watching you, watching him.
Right, so we've got our little doggy friend. What I then wanted to show you, if I can move on, can I move on?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to show you how to make one of these little figures. So we've seen the basics. We're just going to transfer that up to something a little more complicated.
Before we move on to the figure, let's just remind you then of exactly what Rosie's been using during that demonstration today. The modelling paste, of course, the Renshaw modelling paste. Here it is. Now, there's a pack of 4 of these in different colours, as you can see. All of those included, so you don't have to buy them separately and pay extra postage. It's all one P&P of only £2.99, and it's £11.69 if you're in the Crate and Craft Club, £12.99 if you're not a club member. You can add that to your order today. 355 358. That's the most important thing, the item number, to make sure you get what you need. You can either phone us for that, or you can order it on the website, crateandcraft.tv. The Tylo powder, that is without a shadow of a doubt the hero product of cake decorating. That's been made very clear to me over the last 6 weeks. 275042. This will give you more rigidity to your sugar paste when you're making models and figures. 50 grams of that for £4.49 to club members, or £4.99 if you're not in the Crate and Craft Club. The modelling tools that Rosie was using, of course, all of these, you get 2, 4, 6, 8 of them for an impressive price. Only £10.79 for these, and these will last you probably a lifetime. But they are crucial to giving you those fantastic techniques that you see all of our great demonstrators show you each Sunday. 332564. We have also got the Wilton set of tools too, which is slightly more comprehensive. Here they come, and it comes in an organiser box as well, this. You get a 10-piece fondant and gum paste tool set, including your spatula in that one too. A lot of the other tools are very similar, but you just get a little bit more from the Wilton one, and that's $32.39 if you're a club member, or $35.99 if you're not in the club. Also, of course, Cake Masters. We talked about that at the beginning of the show, and you'll hear more about it again at the end of the show. Cake Masters magazine. We've actually got a fantastic deal going on at the moment with Cake Masters. If you want to order 3 previous issues, you can have 3 of them for just £5. They're normally £3.70 each. But if you'd like 3 back issues of Cake Masters, lots of hints and tips in each magazine, obviously, you could have all 3 of them for just £5 today. 356-295. And a good place to start if you're brand new at doing cake decorating.
That's really good, actually, because it's timeless. So the fact that they're back issues makes no difference,
no, exactly.
Because all of the tips and tricks and all of the tutorials in there, always relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Projects galore in there. So if you'd like those and you'd like to save some money at the same time, order those today. And of course, always record our Cake Masters show every Sunday 5 p.m. That's where you'll find it here on Create and Craft, exclusive. But also do remember, if you're a Sky customer or a Virgin customer, you have the facility to series link every single show. I do it all the time on my Sky box at home. If there's something that I like, I just series link it, and I'm always getting home to a wonderful collection of programmes I want to see, which is fantastic. So do that right now. Sky and Virgin customers can series link, or if you're not a customer of that, just make sure you record it every single Sunday at 5. Fantastic. OK, now we're going to move on to going from a little canine critter, a little cute canine cuddly character, to a choir boy next, bearing in mind we're into the festive season very, very soon.
It's come too quickly, hasn't it?
It
feels wrong. It feels wrong. What I want to do is to do something quite simple to show you that actually if you get the basics, then you can move on to anything. So the choir boy is a really good example because it's not that complicated. But in order to do it, what I'm going to start doing is the face. And I always start with the faces because, yet again, little things, you want to handle them when they're a little bit drier, that's all. I
would imagine, just like with the body of the dog, bodies and arms relatively easy to do, faces pretty hard to do.
They are, which is why it's quite nice. I mean, this isn't a cheat, it's just a really nice way to do faces, and obviously I teach normal faces, as in doing them yourself, but the truth of the matter is it takes quite a bit of time. So for people who want to do beautiful cakes that look consistent, or even if you want to pump them out quickly, this is a beautiful way to do it.
Now let me just show you, this is the Karen Davis mould, and Karen was our guest last week actually. She's back not next week but the week after, but this is a really handy mould to have because it's actually giving you 2, 4, 5 different sizes of face, and presumably that could be boy or girl.
Yeah, it could be anything, and you can adapt it as well.
Right.
You can adapt it. It's very, very easy to use.
Now I've got to let you know, a quarter of the stock's gone already. This could potentially sell out the way it's going at the moment. It's only $12.99 or $11.69, but if it's figures that you want to create for your fantastic fantastic cakes, then this is going to be a good investment, isn't it?
This definitely takes out most of the time, and you'll see that because actually I will spend quite a lot of time doing faces. Right, so all I'm going to do is use the corn flour and icing sugar. I mix the two together. Some people just use corn flour.
Right.
And I'm going to tap that out, and I'm just going to use a ball of skin colour. So there we go. I'm just going to pop it in. Sometimes if you've got something that's very complicated, a nose that's a little bit pronounced, you'd make a little bit of a tip in order to push it in, but we don't need to do that with this because it's quite an easy mould to use. So,
and is this the same sugar paste that we were using for the dog?
This is exactly the same.
Right.
It's Renshaw with Tylo added.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm pinching this and pushing into the ears. You might not want the ears, but if you do, I'm just pinching it and pushing it in. And what I've done, you can see I've used a ball that is bigger than I need, just to give me the back as well, the back of the head, even though it's going to be covered in hair. You may want to spend a little bit of time making sure that you've got these seams a little bit, because I can smooth it as I go there, but we don't need to because we're going to cover it with hair. And this is just me using the big one just to show you because it's easier for you to see.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is look how easily that pops out.
Wow.
And suddenly you've got a face. Now, this one obviously is nice and soft. These I did yesterday and I can handle them a lot easier.
Let me just hold this up to the camera so you can see. Look at this. What a great mould to invest in. I mean, we've spent quite a bit of time showing you moulds over the last few weeks, but we wanted today to kind of combine it between freestyling and also using moulds as well. So this is a little bit of both, isn't it, really?
Freestyling. It sounds like a sport.
I know. Well, it should be.
Extreme sport. Right, so what I want to do is I want to help people who want to do the actual features. So what you can do, and I'm just going to mess around with this one to show you what you can do. Here's my Dresden tool. You can use your Dresden tool, or there are other tools that might do the same thing. But what I'm going to do, because you can see I specifically did singing. So we did a carol singers and we did the choir boys, just to show you that if you want to, you can open the mouth up. So all I'm doing there is opening the mouth up. And you can also use your ball tool. Sometimes you want to be able to give him some cheeks. So just by using the Dresden tool will push it up there. So you can see automatically I'm giving some cheeks there. Just a little bit of an indentation underneath. Right. Or you can use your ball tool at the side just to open it up. You know how you have dimples? You can do all sorts of things just to open it all up.
And if you get it wrong and it doesn't look right, just kind of go back to the mould and start again.
Exactly. You can also make them older. So what you can do is give a few lines. So maybe 3 lines on the outside and you can suddenly have an older face. Right. So that's what we did for Father Christmas. He's got a little bit of an older face. And then what I want to show you is a couple of ways to do the eyes, because it's the eyes that people struggle with. So what you can do is paint them in. So what I've got here, I've got our petal dust. Now these are the rainbow dust petal dusts. They come in loads of different colours. You do them in loads of different bundles as well, which is really helpful. So what you need is some rejuvenator fluid, which is an alcohol, which you added to some of these petal dusts, you can see, will just change it from a powder into a paint.
Now there are various different sets of rainbow dust to choose from. We will give you those and show you a picture of all the different options after we've done the demo, okay? But you can see them if you go to the website createandcraft.tv. Set 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 available. And again, they're not much money at all, less than £10 if you're in the club.
No, and when you use it, you've got to be really quick with rejuvenator fluid, which is good because it dries really quickly. So it means that you're not what's the word? Smudging, you're not smudging.
If you haven't got rejuvenator fluid, can you use any other alcohol?
You can use vodka. Vodka will not dry as quickly. Right. I often do use vodka for that reason. For kids, it's a little more helpful, but actually you get better results using something that's a little more quick drying. Right. So already I've had to
I just saw the bottle of vodka there and just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I always have a bottle of vodka. Everyone comments on it, and I hate the stuff. It tastes disgusting. I promise you, I don't drink it. Right, so what I've done is I've loaded my brush up, and this is where people often rush it, and they don't need to. Load your brush up, but then take the time to make sure that you end up with a tip, and you don't end up with a really nasty end of your brush. So all I'm going to do, and that's why I've chosen to do it on this large one, so you can see, is just use your petal dust to paint. Now this, usually I do a couple of layers, but it dries so quickly that already you're on the second layer. But just to load it up and to make sure you've got that colour.
Well, just to let you know, I know it's all about the demonstration and the tutorials, this show, but we've kind of tapped a nerve, I think. You've loved the idea of having the face moulds. They are going to sell out. It is item number 359064. 359064 if you want to have the face moulds, and you do get 5 different sizes of face. But of course the face can be male, female, long hair, short hair, Father Christmas, choir boy, choir girl. It could be anyone you want it to be. That's so great. And that's the tricky thing to do normally, isn't it, the face?
Well, the thing is, here's one of my bundles. So this bundle, I quite like this one. This has got 2 different shades of blue in. So what you can see, if you have a look at those faces in the front, can you see them, Dave? They've all been painted in. So all you would do is take your petal dust and colour in with the colour that you choose. OK, so I've got my white already.
Now look at these eyes. Look at the detail in this. Phenomenal. So this is, again, the rainbow dust.
Yeah. That's just the rainbow dust colours, petal dust.
Someone's had a heavy night, that's red eyes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a little bit of blue, and again I'm going to have to load this up, this paintbrush, to show you that all you need to do, and what we sort of say is give it a little bit of character. Don't do it staring straight out. Make sure it's either down one side or the other, or up one side or the other, or up. But I think I've got one of these little carol singers, the gentleman, he's the Father carol singer. So he's got his eyes up. You'll see everyone else has got their eyes going somewhere else. Otherwise they look a little bit starey. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is pick an angle. There, I need it. You see how quickly you need to load it up? So all I'm going to do is use my brush to put in the colour. Ooh, overdone it. There we go. We'll cover that. And then I'd put the black in as well. And the black, I don't want to waste time on it because you can see where we're going with this. But the one thing I would say is once it's all dry, take the time to get your white again and take the time to put that little dot. You know that little dot that you find on a character, a cartoon eyes. What it does is it lifts the eye and it makes it look like it's shiny, and that's what you're after.
Would you let that blue dry before you put the black on top?
Yeah, I would, and
right.
I don't want to rush it now, but effectively I'd just put the black on and then I'd put a dab of white on. But what I'm going to show you how to do now, because I really want to do this, and I do a combination of these two things. Sometimes, instead of just doing it painted, what I would do is I'd use sugar paste or flour paste, gum paste. The reason I say flour paste, gum paste is because Americans call it gum paste, we call it flour paste.
It's the same thing.
It is the same thing, and again, because a lot of people see things online, it gets confusing, so it is helpful to know. So what I would do is, instead of taking the colours that we've just done, what I would do is I would take some gum paste. And
Can I just let you know, I'm afraid the face moulds, if you didn't get them, they have sold out for now from Karen Davies. We'll try and get them back in future shows, because that's obviously something you've really kind of liked the idea of having and you've maybe struggled with before. So no more calls, I'm afraid, for the face moulds. They've gone, but there's lots of other goodies if you check the website, createandcraft.tv, lots of other moulds too.
That's a shame,
Yeah,
if people didn't get in quickly enough. Right, so what I would then do is I would use a little bit of gum paste or sugar paste. This is actually a little bit stiff because it's been out a little while, so I'm going to mix it up so you can see a little better. I'm getting it all over my fingers now. So what I'm going to do is take a little ball of this, and this is the reason I would use gum paste, because already it would dry out if I hadn't used gum paste. And I'm going to use my tool. This is my Wilton. It's a really sweet little tool, this. This is my little 3-piece Wilton tool set here. So I'm going to use my Tylo powder mixed with water. There we go. To make my sugar glue, and this is a little trick that we did before. Do you remember when we were trying to get hold of little things and we used, this is Trex, I'm putting it on the bottom of my Dresden tool and I'm using it just to lift that ball.
Right, really
now
handy.
The reason I'm saying that now is this is the big face mould, okay? If you're struggling with a paintbrush and you're moving around or shaking, this is a really nice way to do it without having that stress of having to get it right first time with a paintbrush. So there you can put on your colour. And so sometimes I'll do a combination of the two. So I may well choose to paint the white on and then put a little bit of gum paste or flour paste on. Or sometimes I do all of painting or all of sugar paste. You can chop it and change it. So once you've done that, you then want to use a little bit of black. And that's why I say I often have a little black and a little white. So what we're doing is we're just putting the pupils in. So yet again, tiny amount, in fact, probably smaller than you'd think.
Well, in that pack of 4, you do get white and you do get black, and you get pink, I think, as well, don't you? And red. Pink and red. Yeah.
And like I say, if someone is struggling, if you're struggling because it is starting to dry at this size or even smaller, then what you do is you add a little bit of the Trex or add a little bit of glycerin and it will solve it for you. Right, so there I've now got, can you see how instead of using paints, need to do that again, instead of using paints, we've now got somebody who's not very good or steady with their hand. I need some sugar glue. Need some sugar glue and a little bit more patience. You do need a bit of patience. I often, and this is what I'd say to people at home, do not be frightened if you don't get it right first time, because you can take it off and put it back on. Whereas if you paint it and you paint it incorrectly, you're stuck.
This is more forgiving.
There we go. So now let's mix up the two things that we've just done, and I'm going to take the white, and I could use a tiny little bit of flour paste, but instead, there we go. Just going to add myself a little dot.
It's amazing the difference that white dot makes.
It does, it lifts it, doesn't it?
Look at the difference now.
Lifts it.
2 seconds
now,
ago.
what we would do if we were painting is we would paint a little bit of a lid. You can see on the figures that on the faces that we've got there, we've painted. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use a little bit of flour paste. Now, did you see what I did there? All I did was I rolled my sausage and then I pressed further at one end to make it nice and thin.
Right.
And by making it nice and thin, what I could do is just cut it up at the right length. So again, if you're struggling because you shake, this is a nicer way to do it. I need to put some sugar glue onto my eye, above the eye. There we go. And I'm going to use the same technique just to take a little bit of a eyelid. What would that be? Is eyelid there? There.
Yeah.
So, oops, we framed it. I've messed it up. But then again, if I'd messed it up, I can move it. If I'd messed it up with paint, I couldn't.
I get engrossed in these shows, and I know you do at home as well. We've got 18 minutes left.
We're doing all right.
Where's the hour going?
I know, there's two. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same method. You see how tiny that little end was? If I was to try and paint that, I wouldn't manage it. But by doing it with there, I can make my eyelashes in the same way.
Brilliant.
OK, so people who are struggling, you can make all of your features, including your eyebrows.
And look, you can maybe do this on a lap tray of an evening in front of the TV. Have a little play with it, practice with it.
Yep.
You don't have to be a slave in the kitchen. You could, sit down with the family and just have fun. And it'll be techniques that you'll master very quickly and easily with a little bit of knowledge that Rosie's giving us today. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, but effectively, I think this is a really nice method for people who struggle because, some people aren't hugely steady with the hand. So we've now got our face. What I'm then going to do is take you through our little figure. So starting from the base, what I'm going to do is take some red. I've measured it out already, and this is 55 grams just because it happened to be so. I just measured it. So all I'm going to do...
Is it the same ratio of double for the body, half for the head?
No, not necessarily, but it all changes. And this, for instance, this one, the head is number 3, so it's the third one in the mould, in the Karen Davis mould that I'm using for the choir boys.
Right.
I've opened up the mouth, as I showed you, and all I'm going to do is take this red, which is my base, make it into a ball, and then we're on to our sausage.
Did you believe I was a choir boy once?
No.
I was.
So I've tapered my sausage. Now, can you see that's really sort of shapeless at the moment? It's taking on a lot of my fingerprints as I'm doing it. So again, what I do is I give it a little time. I usually leave it to stand for a little while. Then when it's got a bit more resistance, I come and smooth it a bit more. So I've got a bit more control.
Right.
And yet again, this is one I did yesterday. Nice and easy to work with.
And it sounded a lot more solid and rigid
Nice
too.
and solid. Right, now I'm struggling with this because this is one of the things that I would leave to wait until the right time. I want to have my gum paste, and what I've done for this smock is I've mixed a little bit of gum paste and sugar paste together to give me a nice consistency. I've made myself a little template which is very simple. It's just that smock shape. I've cut it out. And what I'm going to do is just use a knife. You can use a scalpel. My lovely Wilton one is very good for little areas.
Is that the 3-in-1 tool again?
Yeah, the 3-in-1 Wilton tool.
That's on the website. And also, of course, the rolling pin you'll find in the Wilton shop.
Yeah,
on the website
and the rolling pin actually comes, if you're struggling again to get, my kids do this, they struggle to get it nice and even. So you've got the little, it comes with these little, oh, here we go. It comes with these little rings that help you to make a decent...
So you get an even thickness or thinness, whatever you like. So that's how it will come. And the Wilton shop, remember, has got everything Wilton has produced available only through us. Other retailers may stock some things. We stock everything Wilton produces. The whole range is there at createandcraft.tv/Wilton.
Right.
You'll find it.
So all I'm doing is using my sugar paste to put my smock on, and you can see we're nearly there already. I do have one that I made earlier just for simplicity. And yet again, I'm going to use my pliers to cut off the dowel at the right height for me. And because the choir boy is quite self-sufficient, I can just leave him self-standing. That's fine. Then what I'm going to do is make his arms. And what I've done for his arms, I've already measured out the right amount. It's not a lot that you need for his arms. So can you see already someone's very close to making that?
I was going to say, to be honest, all you'll need is a fairly plain Christmas cake, iced, with the characters on the top.
Yeah,
and
we've already got the face ready to go. Right, so what I'm going to do for the arms is, yet again, I'm going to roll my sausage, and on the principles we used for the dog, I'm going to chop it in half, so I've got similar sizes. Oh, I've got a little bit of red on, excuse me for that, but I haven't got time to wash at this point. Right, so I've made my tapered sausage again, and I'm going to use my ball tool. See how useful these tools come in? And I'm using my ball tool there to open up for a hand.
Right.
And then using my sugar glue, yet again. All I need to do is stick my arm on, and we're nearly there already. Can you see how we're nearly there already?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't take long.
OK, there we go. So 2 arms, and then we put our head on, after we're making our collar. Now, do you remember we talked about the frills that we were doing for our ruffles? Do you remember the ruffle cake
Yes,
we made on the first show?
Absolutely.
People can watch that back if they haven't seen how we do it.
All 6 shows, by the way, will be available to watch back. If you go to createcraft.tv, the Cake Academy section, you can watch those shows back in their entirety. But when Rosie and I first met, we were demonstrating, all right, you let me have a go with this as well.
You did, you were great. You were great. You were a brilliant student. Right, I'm rushing this a little bit because I don't want to miss out on the other things we need to show. There we go. But what we need to do now, I need some time. You hold that for me, Dave, while I do the hands, so that we've got that done, because the hands are very simple. You don't need to press hard, you just need to, don't want to misshapen it. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my skin colour, which I've got here, and for the hands you need a lot less than you think. So for the hand, you just need a little tiny ball, okay, and you need a teardrop shape, and then from the teardrop shape, you're going to flatten it. I'm going to need a little bit of this because otherwise it's a bit sticky. Right, so I'm just going to flatten it a little bit, and actually you need very, very small amount, so make sure you've got the right amount there for a hand. And what I'm going to do is take out the V shape. You know that V shape that you need? So I've got a thumb, and I've got my fingers, and if I take that out, all I'm going to do is use my fingers to round that up a bit. So we're keeping it nice and simple. There we go. And then, oops, I'd use my fingers like this, just to make the wrist, and then by chopping it off, I would then be able to use a little bit of sugar glue in order to attach it.
Pop it in the sleeve.
Yeah, one thing I would say is sometimes, again, that's quite sticky and soft, and as you can see, that was quite sticky and soft. If you were doing this at home, just let it have a little bit of resistance by air drying for only a couple of minutes, and you'll find that it will stay in exactly the right position. I'll do this one because that one's a little bit... There we go. So there, that's what we're doing. Now, one thing I will say is, in order to do these, so that I had something being held by these choir boys, I let the hands dry first.
Right.
So it's nice and solid, and then you're not fighting it the whole time. So you can see where we're going with this. And the last thing I'll show you very, very quickly is that what we're going to do is the ruffles, and that's very easy to do.
And that's the same principle as what we did in show number 1 on this cake and on the cake behind us there as well.
So what I want to do is I want to roll this fairly thin, and the thing that's really good about flour paste, gum paste, is that it will hold its shape. Now, you can still do this with the modelling paste. It will still work, but it will just be a bit chunkier, that's all. You can see, can you see that? That's because I'm rushing it now. So instead of having time to settle and get a little bit of resistance, it's tearing. But I'll still show you how to do it. I'm just going to cut a circle. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is use a foam pad, and I'm going to take my circle, and I'm going to take my ball tool, and this is exactly what we did with the ruffles, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And what you do is you need to thin the edges. Now, if you can leave that out for a little bit, so often what I do is I have them on the foam pad. If I'd done them at the beginning of the show, they'd be bone dry by now, so you just need a minute or two.
So it's almost like a petal of a flower. You're treating it in the same way.
Yeah, that's right. So once you've done that, all you need to do is attach it to your cake. There we go. And if you take a little bit of time over this bit, what will happen is they'll start to dry, and you'll start to be able to position them so that they have that little ruffled effect. You see that?
Taking me back to my childhood, this is.
Yeah, see that? Okay, so once we've done those ruffles, so you can obviously repeat the same thing again, what we're then going to do is take our ready-made head. We're going to pop our ready-made head on. There. So we're nearly ready to go. Obviously, I'm skipping a load of the process because you don't need to see me do that again and again. But then what we're going to do is just add a little bit of hair, and that's really simple.
OK. Well, we'll do that now. Should we do that now, or do you want a recap now? Should we do a recap?
Shall I do it whilst you do a recap?
OK, let's do... Well, you'll probably want to see how we do that.
I'll show you one of them, shall I? If I show you one, and then I'll carry on while you do the recap.
Right.
Teardrop. We're still ball, teardrop, and I'm using my Dresden tool just to press like this. And that's going on my head. That's it. Carry on now.
Crikey, that is quick, isn't it? I thought it would be a lot more complicated.
No.
OK, let's show you what we've used then in the making of the choir boys. So let's have a little look at all the details if you'd like to go for any of the moulds in the show. Obviously, the face mould is sold out. But let's show you the rainbow dust and show you the colours. So these are set out in sets 1, 2, 3. This is set number 1. That's set number 2. That's set 2. This is set number 3 and 4. And then we have set number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all photographed on the website if you like them, under the same item number. So if you do want to go for more than one set, you only pay 1p and p of £2.99. Now, the brushes that we have for you from Wilton as well, the 5-piece decorating brush set, £8.99 for these. Really handy to have for all that very dainty, delicate work for the eyes and so on. 351155 is that item number. That's in stock and part of the Wilton mega store, really, if I can call it that, because everything they make is in stock with us. We also have the fantastic Renshaw modelling paste, which is 250 grams. You get all 4 of them. You get the pink, you get the red, you get the black, and you get the white, of course. £11.69 there. The rolling pin that Rosie was using, which has got the resistance, well, not resistance bands, it's got the bands that give you certain depths and certain heights, so you get an even roll. That is 22.8 by 2.5 centimetres, or 9 inch by 1 inch, and it's £8.99. If you're in the Create and Craft Club, it's less than that. The tools from Wilton, here they come. Sorry, these aren't the Wilton ones. This is a set of 8 double-ended modelling tools, unbranded. Those at £10.79, 332564. We have got the Wilton tools, which I'll show you in a second. And here these come, and they come in an organiser tray as well. You also get your spatula. There are actually 10 pieces in there in total, and that's at £32.39, a one-off payment really, and when you've got them for life. 351105. Now, the shaping foam pad that we used to make the ruffle for us a second ago, which also makes fantastic petals, that's the shaping foam for just £4.49, and that's 351158. That's the price if you're in the Create and Craft Club. Now, we have also got some moulds available in the show from Sugar Buttons, and the lovely Catherine Sturrock brings us these. We've got the ballerina, the fairy, the princess, or the pirate. So if you're looking at them and looking at the modelling that we're doing with Rosie today, thinking, well, I don't know if I could do that, I really need a mould to give me some help, then these are available right now. And of course, they'll work with the sugar paste beautifully. So that's 336031. Then we also have the next item, which is this here, which is the boy or girl choice of. If you want both of them, you'd be looking at, if you're in the Create and Craft Club, £23.38. If you're not in the Create and Craft Club, you'd be looking then at £25.98 with 1 P&P, because they're under the same item number. But lovely moulds from Catherine and Sugar Buttons, 345990. Back there with Rosie, and finishing off the hair.
Oh, do you know what? I could spend ages doing that, but the principle is exactly as I showed you. As you can see, just using the Dresden tool and the teardrop shape, and you can do that. Anybody can do that.
Can we just have a little look at him?
Oh, no, because I've half done him. We've half done him, but you get the gist. You get the gist.
He's got a trendy hairdo, hasn't
he? Well, like yours.
No, I wish.
Right, so I do want to talk about these cakes over here, because what we've done is we've used the same face. That's the Karen Davis face that we've used for the little ballerina.
Right.
But we've also used her little bows, which I found really helpful. So these bows, they come in 5 different sizes, and that's the mould that I used for those. These are really lovely moulds, actually.
Now, these were on the show
to use.
last week as well, proved very popular then. So if you didn't see them, or you'd like another chance to see them right now, very, very good quality, as you said. It's a quality material that's used here, isn't it? What's it made from?
The silicone, aren't they? But they're really easy to use. Very, very easy to use. I've never had a problem using those. One thing I will say is that if you're using a mould that's quite intricate, so let me show you some of these sugar button moulds, because some of these are quite intricate. And just a couple of little tips. If you find this is something that you don't want to enter into doing the modelling, something to make it really quick. So we've got the ballerinas that you can see there. Here's the ballerina mould. It is quite an intricate mould, but it does a lot of the work for you. So what I've got is the same stuff, and all I'm going to do is fill it in. Now, what I will say is if you don't have the right consistency, you might find it very tricky.
Right.
Because it might stick, stuff might stick in. But do you remember how I said that if you are struggling, all you have to do is pop it in the freezer, and it will come out straight, especially if you've got some intricate little bits, like this one's got so many intricate little bits. But if I show you how I'm going to fill it all up, make sure everything's pressed in.
Would you again need to mix Tylo powder with this?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. If you have normal sugar paste going in here, you will find very quickly that it sticks. It sticks to everything. Right, so what I usually do is I usually make sure it's all solidly in, and then you can just cut off the excess. You may just use the right amount to start with, in which case just push it through. But then what you do is just make sure that you've filled every little bit and that you've got all the bits exposed that need to be exposed. Now, if you do it that way, I usually use a skin tone, because that means that you can colour using exactly the same method that we did before with the petal dusts. You can colour. So this is one that we did earlier, and that's how it comes out.
Right.
So using those skills.
Look at the detail in that.
Yeah, but I just want to show you another cheat, okay?
Yeah. Yep.
So this one we've done slightly differently. Now Christina, who you've got coming back, who did the little bride and groom at the front that you see, that
Christina
gorgeous.
Ludlam.
Yeah, so we used a little bit of a trick. What we did is we inlaid a little bit, and I inlaid all of these ballerinas. So what I did was I inlaid the different colours individually, which looks a little bit more complicated than it actually is, because what I did was I used my tools.
Okay.
So all I did was, for instance, if I was going to do this particular one, which is the bride, I would get my white. So let me start with some white. Here we go. Make sure I've got it. But in fact, if you can see, there are some little flowers on here. Can you see those little flowers? So what I did was I picked a colour, and just using a little ball and my tool, so this is my Dresden tool, I pushed it into where it needs to go using the Dresden tool. Okay?
And it's very easy to see exactly where the different colours need to be.
Yes, so you just make sure, and you don't need it to completely fill it, you just need it to be on the surface, so don't overdo it. So that's what I did there, and on this little one here, so we've now got the two little flowers inlaid. Okay, if there's any excess, take it away, and just make sure that you've just infilled that particular part. Then using the white, so this can be all pearlised. I think Christina's actually pearlised it when she did it, but if you can see, what I need to do is make sure that it's just infilling those bits that need to be infilled.
And the tools allow you to be really accurate with it too.
So that's it. So the white's in, and for the sake of time, you can understand how I would then spend a little bit of time making sure that all the bits were covered, and that's what I did with the ballerina. So you can see how they haven't been painted apart from the eyes. All they are is inlaid.
So there's two ways of doing it, either painting them or indeed using different coloured icing and sugar paste if you want to. Now, if you have a little look at our website, createandcraft.tv, you'll see what's happening over the next 3 weeks on the Cake Academy. Next week, Lindy Smith will be our guest, and we're talking about majoring on cupcakes. So that'll be next Sunday at 5 o'clock. But if you go to createandcraft.tv, you'll see everything to do with the next 3 weeks of shows that you can look forward to. I know Karen Davis is back with us the following week, so lots to look forward to on the Cake Academy every Sunday at 5. But remember, if you series link it, or make sure you record it every single week, any other shows that are connected to cake decorating as well will automatically be recorded on either your Skybox or your Virgin Box, because that's the way you can series link. And here we go.
There we go. So what I did was I decided to paint in the hair. You'd pop in the eyes, so some of these you can see have got the eyes out and some have got the eyes in. So we've done the fairies in exactly the same way. You can do them all normal one colour and paint them, or you can inlay a little bit and paint them, or you can inlay totally.
And remember, Create and Craft on a Sunday, or through the week as well, is your #1 stop for anything cake decorating, whether it's Wilton that you're after, whether it's moulds that you're after. You can create, everyone can create wonderful works of art just like this. I know Rosie Cake-Diva has, well, over 1 million followers on Facebook and so on. Well, you may well end up with over 1 million followers on Facebook if you start cake decorating too, because you used to be in the forces and now you're a cake decorator.
I know,
so,
it's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, from one extreme to the other, really.
But anyone can do it, and I think hopefully they can see that with the tips and tricks we taught them, they can do it too, I think.
It's a fascinating hobby to have, and also so rewarding as well. Thanks a lot, Rosie. Great to see you.
Thank you.
See you again in a few weeks' time, hopefully.
Yes, back
Brilliant.
before Christmas.
OK, fantastic. And I'll see you again in about an hour or two's time here on Create and Craft. Don't forget, of course, to check out the website for everything that we've shown you, and stock up, fill your basket. We'll see you next Sunday at 5.
Cake Masters magazine is one of the UK's leading cake decorating monthlies. It includes fabulous step-by-step cake tutorials, recipes, expert advice, competitions, interviews, design inspirations, and so much more. You can order your 12-month subscription to Cake Masters magazine right here for just £35 and with free UK P&P. To order your 12-month subscription, either visit createandcraft.tv or call 09056 480